No, one of my favorite lines in the whole franchise of 007 is the "That's a Smith and Wesson, and you've had your shit." And he like shoots it in the back twice. Like, my man. Must be dreaming. But this game is less Sean Connery and more "Hello, baby." I'll make you randy. I'm on a room full of gold bullion and bearer bonds. Must be worth hundreds of millions.
Oh, 8 down sights? Oh, I know, right? I guess I could technically fake it. Ah, shit! That was a real scream that time. Fuck! I hate you. I hate you. Give me my knife back, bitch. Oh, Lord, they coming.
Hey, your boy, what's good, man? Setting up. I'm just about ready. I need some spinach real quick.
I still gotta get on
Egg. Nothing.
that. Oh shit, he's
All right,
eating your butt.
what's
He's eating your
that
butt. Don't eat my butt. Oh.
How you been, bud? So I've been busy during your streams. I'm either sleeping.
No.
Because I'll see notifications when I wake up. It's like, oh, you went live at like 5 a.m. for me, and
Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
I'll never be up at 5 a.m. unless I'm staying up.
Don't you fucking dare fail me! This is on you, not me.
All right. I might be rusty. I haven't played this in like a fucking month, dude. First, by the way, you are first. Welcome in, bro. Let me go ahead and switch over.
How am I supposed to go there if I can't
Almost
look there?
done. Now I can almost play new shit. I just been hella busy, dude. Finished Bully today. Nice. You know, I've never actually finished Bully. While searching for Luis, Ada becomes dizzy before passing out. When she wakes up, she comes face to face with Wesker himself, and he isn't pleased. Oh, that's right, he's there. He's not just like on the fucking phone like he used to be. Hold on, let me reply to this.
You probably didn't plan on coming back here, eh? Well, plans do change, no? Are you angry? You're angry. There is this one thing I must do before I
It's like it.
the Ember.
Ah.
Before.
This is not a negotiation, Louis, so choose your next word.
I'm also going back to Professional Studio that's downtown from where I live on Thursday. Nice. Is that where you recorded all your other songs?
There's someone who needs my help. You know me. Always the good Samaritan.
Always the good Samaritan.
Let me guess. Leon?
Holy shit.
Yes, exactly.
Hey,
Leon,
no. Don't you chew that.
young woman,
Hey, that's the first. You don't chew cables. What are you doing?
they need this medicine.
What are you
Slows the
doing?
infection.
Don't do that.
I know it works.
This bitch was chewing on my Ethernet cable. That's a first.
So,
You've never done that before. Welcome in, Paul. Second. My subs run out and they hit me with ads right away. I've turned into a plebe. Oh, it happens. Or pleb. All good, man.
Already feel the effects, eh?
Subs are appreciated but not required. Hello, governor. Oh, shit. Well, what up, Angel?
Stop them for a time.
It's good.
Just
My dom runs out and hits me, so I feel you.
and
How you doing?
Okay,
Good to see
but
you.
This is your last chance.
And I hope
We do this first,
this
and
entertains.
then the Amber.
I'll let
I'm okay. Hey, there used to be an ex-Angel baby girl that streamed. What a coincidence.
Hola, Luis.
We're
Stick around.
we're working on it. Getting back in the groove of things. Life is lifing.
Perfect, because I have a present I want to give you. Medicine. that will-
And I honestly, goddamn, dude, this cat is on one right now. I honestly think I think I can be back to a somewhat regular schedule. I need to reassess like queue, if you will. But I might actually have to drop a day, so I can either do like a somewhat regular 3 a week or for sure 2 a week. You know what I mean?
How chivalrous.
Well, yeah, I'll be back soon, exactly. But life be lifing real hard. Yeah, dude, life is lifing. It's okay when life's, you know, you can turn that around. It happens. Hey, what up, Cash Cow? How you doing, bud? Drop Mondays. Monday is the worst day. I mean, I kind of like Mondays. For sure, I can't do Tuesdays. And then Wednesdays and Thursdays, I'm pretty sure I can do. I know I've been trying to stream earlier, closer to 8, but honestly, I might have to just push it to 9 as my starting time. And I know. You guys like to go to bed earlier than that, but you know, it's okay. I'm gonna try to be a bit more productive, somewhat working on my sleep schedule, which I say every month. But I don't know, I've been feeling super motivated. Telling me I need to be consistent with streaming that you dip for almost a month. Hey, I've been busy, dude. I'm just saying, because like me, I stream when I can. You stream all the goddamn time randomly, that's all.
The suppressant.
And even on the days I do stream, I have a start time, roughly, you know? Can't you just do hot tub stream while you're working? Ask your boss, I'll wait. Hey, Cash Cow, are you still here? Can I do hot tub streams at work? Cash Cow's my manager, by the way. You should add the Samuel L. Jackson, go the fuck to sleep. I should. No, not me. I go to bed early most of the time. Yeah. That's my, honestly, it's probably gonna be what kills me. Just my fucking sleep schedule, what it does to me.
What would I do without you, Ada?
And I'm on chapter 4. This has what, 7?
Site food.
I probably won't finish this tonight. I was hoping to. Wait, what the fuck? What did that do? Oh, okay. Yeah, I feel like a little rusty, but it's okay. We'll get back to this. I'm back. And I missed my little BBs. I missed you all. So
Of course.
I'm trying. I would go laugh my ass off if I saw this. Laugh at the absurdity of it, of how amazing I look. You dead yet? Oh shit.
Here we go.
We do have. Praise the Lord! Sit! And then, motherfucker. Alright, I got this. Wait, is Luis getting attacked? He's fine. Joey in a banana hammock making art, whatever it is he does. Yeah. I'm down. If it pays, and if work lets me. Wait, Luis, really?
This one's mine.
Oh, motherfucker!
Thanks.
What the fuck? Secret chat stream? No. I said I think this will be the week, and it was just a little bit late. I was saying, you know, I've been trying to get my start time to be 8. It's probably gonna be 9, just because my schedule. But I think I can bring back at least 2 nights a week. When you doing the stream with a body pillow waifu? When I get one, you're free to send me one. Make sure it's let's see, Sydney Sweeney or something. Or Ada. Yeah, it was a shocker. I was all prepped to stream, but didn't want to compete with this. Oh, were you really gonna stream tonight, dude? Oh shit, I was legit sending you a waifu body pillow. Yeah, I'll have to actually, I'll try to coordinate it with like a stream. Oh shit, wait, he has a health meter? What the fuck you doing? Hold on. I'll catch up. Jay, help me find the best one. He'll send something sarcastic.
Luis, get back here.
Like Kathy Bates or some shit.
Don't inhale the smoke.
I like how she's telling this world-class scientist to not inhale fucking smoke from a fire. Backdraft. You know that movie got a sequel? There's a Backdraft 2. Get him a Jay Conquer's body pillow. That would actually be kind of funny. That would actually be funny. No, do Sheva. Give me a Sheva body pillow.
If you're trying to kill yourself, can you do it after you?
They have a whole DBZ section on this anime body pillow site, and no Krillin. Are you looking at a site right now? That's funny. Yeah, I have to think of it. I'll get the chair and I'll lean it against it.
I must set right.
And I'll do it when I play like weeb games. Is there a service where I can get a body pillow made of myself?
It's all
Yeah.
over, and I can't help them anymore.
I've seen services where they do like pets and shit. I'll send you a Claire body pillow with a banana. Okay, that works.
Make more.
Make sure it's remake Claire though.
Wow, just do it.
Yes, it is possible.
Or if I could pick, I would go with Sheva. Damn this chair. Got it.
Yes, I need time, but I can still get you your ember.
I'm going to have a body pillow. You know, just send me a Sheva real girl while you're at it too. Have you guys ever seen that movie, Lars and the Real Girl? Real Woman? Real Girl? It's heartbreaking and kind of good. You cannot pick though, I'm picking. Oh, fine. Just make sure it's a girl. I can totally see you sending me fucking. Oh, you're looking for Krillin and Trunks or some shit. Give me 18. Oh wait, I can't pick. Never mind. It was okay. Wait, what was okay? Or did I read that wrong? It was okay. Like, where's the inflection?
Hey,
God, I missed this game.
who are you working for?
I never played Separate Ways. This is my first time still, so
Trust me.
at least the remake Separate Ways. It's funny because Krillin would be taller than him. Fuck you. That's pretty good. That was fucked. That was pretty good. Do you think they would print it if I sent Dry's dick pic for a custom body pillow? Okay, I will absolutely not have that on stream.
Huh? Where's the key?
I'm pretty sure there's a service. They're probably like, hey, just
I must have dropped it.
don't mention it. Right, what they do.
Okay.
That felt good.
My finest effort. But it might just work.
A giant dino nuggie pillow. Shit, no, I want one. I actually have a dino nuggie. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that. I have a dino nuggie keychain.
Time's not our friend. You go. Find them. Now we'll go grab the ember.
I'll go grab the ember.
Good luck.
What are you up to, Angel? What are you up to? I miss all of you. Okay, I need red ink, the bindery, gold bottle in the treasure room, and blue butterfly collection room. Minerals in the ink, the yeast in the bottle, the substance in the scales of the butterfly wings. Each of these has special properties we require to make a suppressant. If I extract the ingredients and mix them with the chemicals I have on hand, that should do it. All right. Bet. Ordering Wingstop since I've been drinking. Ooh, what you drinking?
Good luck.
Likewise.
Tequila? Hey, baby. Hello, Jay. Newts?
All right. First, bindery.
I respect the shit. Die. Consistency. Oh, my knife broke. Oh no. My knife. It's broken. What the fuck is? Okay. All right, let's go this way first. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck. Okay. Beer, Southern man accent. Beer. You guys say it like fucking Sam Elliott or some shit. I'll grab one. Yo! Keep telling you, I'm fresh out. Joey, you blew it. She was gonna send some, I bet. Angel baby girl, can I get a nude? But you're like nude under a full flux, a full on inflatable Godzilla costume and stomping on a to scale mini city. That would actually be pretty dope for anybody to do. Ugh. A puzzle in Resident Evil? What is this? This way? Nope. Damn, dude, I fucking... No sense of direction. If you had a light on behind me, would you be able to see my silhouette through the costume? It's bright enough, probably, yeah. Your gravelly southern voice sounds like Nick Cage. What is your obsession with Nick Cage?
Guess this is fate.
It's like me and Resident Evil. Like any conversation, I'll find a way to make it connect to Resident Evil. No, I can only get off. I mean, appreciate someone's beauty if I can imagine it's actually Godzilla. If yeah, then no.
I've got some new items in stock.
Sweet, can you repair my...
I still have some new items
No,
you might
repair my
be
knife.
interested.
Actually, can I buy a new knife? Got this. So
What you see
go.
is what I've got.
Godzilla body pillow. You guys. Oh, let me sell some shit first.
Your valuables won't do you much good in the grave.
Suck it, merchant.
A deal well struck.
Hi. What do I fucking need first? Spawn. Ooh, that's
Some
nice.
things money. Good stranger. Thank you.
They don't sound like him and I won't say it. Fair. I feel like Walter White, the you got me. Drag and drop it. I forget. I can. Hell yeah, I forgot. Alright. Actually, I should probably use one of these. Yeah. Wait, no, not yet. Oh, fuck.
Again, suit. Welcome. Wield it. What can I
Run,
do?
chat! Activate kryptonite!
What's that?
Give me like a shotty. I have to sleep because my dad has an appointment in the morning. Alright, well, you have a great night, okay? Thank you for hopping by. Thank you for the lurk. I hope your dad has a good day at his appointment tomorrow. I hope the appointment goes well.
Got a selection.
Also, hi.
Good things on sale, stranger.
Let's see.
Some bang for your buck. I guarantee it.
Do I need resource? What can I craft? What do I need? Hang on. Oh yeah, I gotta repair that first.
Welcome.
Don't you psst at me, fucker?
Give that the care it deserves, mate.
I think I need power. I need durability.
Will that be all? I'll keep a look. Welcome.
Craft some shit. What can I craft? What can I do? Shotgun shells would be nice. Walter White as a bird. I'm the one that flocks. Or you can give him a gun. He's like, I'm the one that cocks. Or a guitar. He's like, I'm the one that cocks. Ooh, got a bonus. Fuck yeah. Stroke if I don't adjust this. Yeah, it's I was about to quote fucking Metal Gear. It's been too long. Brother! I have the recessive genes. Do I even have something that shoots these arrows? No, I don't. Oh, you see, they're gonna let AI shoot into the Linux kernel. Be going the Windows route. It's Jover. Oh shit. Nice.
Suit yourself.
That sucks. But as a Windows user, I don't care. Joey, DJ, what's good, man? I'm sorry everything I made for you eroded over time during your fucking charity stream. I was getting triggered. Like, I wanted to fucking find your address, come over and fix that shit. And I had solutions for some of it. I had to leave. But I hope that went well. I hope you had fun during those 24 hours. Anaconda. I can give you his address. Yeah, go for it, dude. Oh shit. Wait, no. Wait. I'm too stupid for this. No. Wait. Aha. No, wait. Right? Oh, square. Silly goose? Wait, fuck. Hold on. Wait, where's the blue one? Okay, here we go. I stalk him. We are almost up to 500? Fuck yeah, dude. Right on, brother. Holy shit, Joey just said the fucking F word. It did. It's like my favorite word. Hey! Also one of my favorite redeems. Mostly because it triggers Jay. Oh wait, I thought that was the rat. Get back here! Get back here, boy! No? I thought it was for like a side quest.
The first ingredient should
Uh-oh.
be in this room.
They're gonna come to life. Deadass people loved your shit. Well, that's good. That's good to hear. That makes me feel better a little bit. I just wish it worked consistently. I don't know what the hell, dude. Fucking, I'm gonna find a replacement for stream elements because that shit actually did trigger me. I was like, why the fuck are you set up like this? Why the fuck aren't you working? You always fucking work. See, I'm saying it more. I'm gonna keep it for a while. Well, good, man. I'm glad you like it enough to do that. Pesetas. Oh, it is in this room. Stay inanimate, please. Don't move. Don't move. Don't you fucking move. The Sonic stuff was the best idea ever. Stream elements is ass. Dude, it really is. I like this stream, but the overlays felt a little urban. A little too diverse for you. If you could just move shit to Streamlabs instead, it would solve all my money. Would shove all my money to you. I mean, the stuff should technically work in Streamlabs. Can you set up alerts directly in Streamlabs? Because I've never used it myself. I do think I heard somebody was able to do that with my Final Fantasy stuff. I just don't have the values, like the numbers and stuff. I guess I could install it and just try it, right? It's gonna overwrite or compete with OBS, will it? OBS plus Firebot. It's great. Oh, Firebot. Well, because we're trying to make custom alerts. Well, we didn't try. I made custom alerts and I set them up in Stream Elements. Streamlabs broke for me and I had to ditch it. I really liked it for a while. I liked it while it worked. Wow. Wow. That's me trying to read. Like, is this it? I read like Helen Keller. If you can sit down and game plan stuff, I'm down. Yeah, that could work. Like I said, I need to look into it on my end because I've never used Streamlabs. So if I can set up custom alerts there and bypass Stream Elements altogether, that'd be amazing. Yo, I'm so down for this. Oh wait, chat, what is your top 5? Don't say the category, just name your top 5 and we guess the category. Man, did you not see what I was puffing on before this? Let me think. Cause it's hard to, okay, top 5. Purple. No, I was kidding. That's a good question. I'm trying to think of stuff that's not super obvious. Oh shit. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, Joe, I'll give you a top 5 and you can guess mine. All right, do it. I prepared a way to acquire the ink. Get shooting. Oh shit. Hold on. I have to actually take a picture of this because I'm stupid. Actually, no. Oh, they're all shaped like that though. That's not so bad. They're all like that. Are they in here? Where are they? Oh. Does that work like this? Oh fuck. They're all over the place. Alright, hold up. 2, 3? Does the order matter? They look almost identical.
This is now going to be in my head for the rest of the day.
Top 5 Popeyes menu items, go. I mean, I've only had like 5 of their items, so I guess chicken.
Okay, that's enough of that.
The rice and beans, I guess. The popcorn chicken, mashed potatoes, and mac and cheese, and I hate all of it. Denzel Washington, bruh. Denzel Washington, Will Smith, Jamie Foxx, Eddie Murphy, and Morgan Freeman. That is awesome. Thank you for allowing that. I had to tab over. That's fucking funny, dude. Cane's, Popeyes, KFC, Publix, and Zaxby's. I guess Publix does have chicken, doesn't it? Hold on. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Bah! All right, hold on. We got one with stars on it, and then stars, and then a lion, a dragon. What is that thing? What is that thing? Let's see. It is. Are they identical? 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, those are identical. Guess I could just shoot those. Hey, Big B, Lucy from Cyberpunk, Ada Wong, Lara Croft, Zero Suit Samus. Ooh, good one. And Dexter's mom. Ah, man of culture. All right, let's do Dr. Shameless, Bible Black. Innocent Sisters. Let's see what else. Oh, fucking what else is there? That Innocent Maid one, and then I don't know. I can't think of a 5th one. I've seen them, all of them, and yes. Oh, elderly Asian women, Princess Diana's driver, 16-year-old girls, lemon wedges. Right on. Joe and send nudes. I tried that line. What? Oh. Hold on. I'm going full retard right now. Hey, you really shouldn't have smoked. Let me see. Yeah. It was bad drivers. No, I figured. Gotta work. See you, bitches. All right, later, dude. Thanks for hanging out. Hold on. Okay, I prepared a way to acquire the ink. Get shooting. Oh, is it a specific wall with 5 on 5 of them? Okay, I think I'm overthinking this. Oh, it is. It's this one. Joey, you guys know what to do. Do it. Do the thing. Do the thing. Joey. 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Oh wait, and then 1, 2, 3. Like queef. Like queef. Hey, what up, nerd? No, you. Next one to no one. How you doing? Dryers under the couch, under the bed, under the stairs, banister, laundry basket. What is this top 5? Is that like step bros? I'm stuck.
That must be the ink.
No, you. And I'm good. How are you? I'm doing pretty all right. I had a hella busy month, but I think I'm back at it now. And I want to finish this game, and then I'm almost done with Resident Evil.
My disappointment.
No, you. And I'm good. How are you? Oh,
immeasurable.
Stupid.
And my day is ruined.
I picked that on purpose because I hate Popeyes.
You can stop right there.
Was I right, you boy?
Leon.
Dryers under the couch, under the bed, and the stairs.
Would it make me use
But
this?
you're black. So?
6 years. That is one.
We don't have to obey our programming. What is wrong with this Leon? What do you mean? What's wrong with this Leon? This is
interesting.
Probably the best Leon's ever looked. Are you gonna play the new Resident Evil? Oh, fucking 9 when that comes out? Guaranteed. The thing is, I don't think I'm gonna stream my first playthrough. I want to absorb it. I can't do that from talking with all yous. You know what? For the price, I'm starting to hate Popeyes too. He looks pale. I mean, he's white. Right on, Angel. We can't let that restaurant define us.
Leave the girl.
We shall overcome.
She's lost no matter what.
Yes, those are top five places for stepsisters to get stuck at. I knew it. Angel, I rooted for you. I thought you were cool. Don't listen to them.
You think I'm gonna give up that easy?
Popeyes. Yuck. Yes.
How about we continue this discussion another time?
Le Queef. You also happen to be black. Because I think that's what the point they're getting. Or at least DJ. Is this what they meant by ethnic cleansing? Price absolutely ridiculous. 7 for 2 legs. I don't even know. Honestly, you know what's funny is when I do get fried chicken, it's usually Jollibee's or just KFC. I think those are better priced. Actually, Jollibee's is kind of pricey. I think Jollibee's is more expensive than the 7 for like a 2-piece combo. I could be black too. This is the internet. You don't know. Yes, sir, I am. Brother. Sister? I forget. Whee! You get Filipino chicken and want to shit on Popeyes? Hey, they make good chicken. What do you want? If you had Korean fried chicken, that shit's amazing too. Jollibee is so fucking much better. They could charge more. Yeah, Jollibee is pretty fucking good. And you know what's funny? Between the in the great chicken fast food joints, I'm team Churches. I like Churches. Ink? No. They serve cold spaghetti with bananas in their sauce. First of all, I said chicken. I don't go there for their whack spaghetti because I do agree that shit is it's just weird. It's too sweet and like they put like hot dogs in it. It's like what do I like my grandma make me this? What is this? Meh, Jollibee is fine. It's better than Popeyes. Oh shit, I'm gonna die.
And Gong have the same symbol. Seems simple enough.
Gate and Gong. Oh, snake. I'm a snake. Where is it? Wait, where is it? Aha. Alright, hold on. Niggas who make spaghetti like that shouldn't make chicken. I mean, they make good chicken. I'm not talking about their spaghetti. If they make that spaghetti and it happens to make that chicken, then maybe there's a correlation here. Maybe the shitty spaghetti correlates to good chicken. He says wait for him, damn it. Church is a solid 3 place for me, like top 3. Add, yeah, all right, let me know when you're ready. Oh, and I need the bird. Birdie. All right, we got bird. All right, I feel like I'm gonna like hit a quick time. They're gonna kill me right now. It feels like a trip. Yeah. What? What are you doing? What is this? What the fuck? Oh shit! What do I do? What the fuck? Wait, what? What do I do? Bird, and fuck, where's the other bird? Is it here? Ah! Bird, open! No! Ah, fucking open! Fish. I actually go to MODBAP for the Katsu chicken more than anything else. What's MODBAP? Do we have one of those here? Snake. Oh man. Whee! MODBAP. Never heard of this MODBAP. Okay, so I'm back. Your reply? Oh, I was saying, I I'm not judging them by their spaghetti. I'm judging them by their chicken. And if in fact, if it takes that bad spaghetti to make good chicken, then so be it. On spaghetti. Yeah, I don't go there for the spaghetti.
Okay, now for the second ingredient.
Can I? Okay, dang. Do you see that new game coming out in fall? Wait, out called Defect? It's made by past Call of Duty and Doom 2016 devs and has the guy that did the score for Doom. Oh, I did hear about that, yeah. And his name's Mick Gordon. It's a Hawaiian place. Is that local to you only, or do we have one? Compass. Pump ass. Kampachi. I feel like these are totally gonna come to life. Can I break these and... Oh, I guess not. Only Mo I know is Judge Mo Dallas. Was his last name Dallas? Are you talking about like, oh, I doubt it's local, but I don't think I've seen one in Las Vegas. Dang. I fucking knew it. All right, wait, you son of a bitch. Fuck off! Okay, that scared me. That one had some fucking speed on him. Behind me. Stay dead. Oh. Alright. There's a character played by Cat Williams. Odala. What was his... What show or movie?
Looks like something goes here.
Thinking. Ah, shit. Don't do it. Don't touch me. Ah. But you can get basically the same thing from any Hawaiian spot. I got it at that spot you're down your street last time I was over. Oh, fucking that Hawaiian barbecue. Doesn't have a cool name like that. I know a pimp named Slickback. Yeah. No, a pimp named Slickback. You have to say all of it. Well, now the first two seasons when they did skits. Oh, dude, that does ring a bell. Actually, I do remember that. Even though I haven't seen Wild 'N Out since high school, but that show's still in the air, isn't it? Yeah. Damn. Okay, bring it on, bitches. I know it's... okay, let's see. Do it.
I know what's coming.
Yeah. Deal. We prepare. Be prepared. Yeah. And then... Did I craft flashbangs? Oh. These are gonna break. I can already tell. Something's gonna like the big ox head dude or something. Hey, so you're urban skinned, right? Yeah, something like that. Some would say I'm mixed. I don't know how much longer Wild 'N Out is gonna last. MTV is going away. Ridiculousness was already canceled. You know, I've only seen like a single episode of Ridiculousness, and I'm pretty sure I'm not their main demographic, but they'll be fine. They have those fucking little zoomers to watch it. I've been going to Chick-fil-A a lot more recently too. That sauce is amazing. Are you gonna get a Shadow? The Shadow Tims? Oh, no, I'm not really into shoes. That is what you're asking, right? Like, I'm not like that urban. Oh shit. Ah! Wait, bitch! I gotta melee him. You ruined it! Oh shit, reload. Oh! That was kind of cool. Oh shit, dude! Where is he? Oh shit. Hey fuckers. Hey fuckers. Oh, you cunt. Where are you? Ah! Wait. No more. It's actually kind of a cool encounter. Oh shit, there's more. Oh shit, there's a lot more. Hold on, guys. No, what are you... Fucking stop it. Well, I'll catch up with chat later. I'm panicking now. Oh, that... Oh, I didn't think that would happen. Well, I can't read that yet. Ah! Fuck! Wait, why can't I move? First of all, come out, you dick! You too, motherfucker! Ah! Oh, jeez. Alright, you puta. You puta. You too. Stop moving. Thank you. Ah, alright, hold on. So when you're playing Ada's mission, you don't go the correct way, you're going the wrong way. Hey, nice. God damn it! LOL. Oh, it's because I'm not getting the shadow tims. You know what's funny? I'm so not in that realm that I don't even know what they are. I've never seen them. How does it make you feel? How does it make you feel? DJ, what are your comments on what Chatter Limit said? Very nice. I love that movie. And that redeem. Almost long as fuck. Where do I combine? Ah, that felt good. No. Love it. I think it's that's your favorite, right, your boy? All right, how do I get over here though? Open, motherfucker. I got the wine bottle. Maybe I can loop that back around. But there's some shit I want over there, and I just want to make sure like I can't interact with this or. Oh, it's one of those little torture things. That's fucked. It's not nice. But you know, I get it. Sometimes you got to torture a motherfucker. Check Discord. I sent him. Check Discord. I sent them to you. Right now. Right. Ooh, gold. Let's open both. Yeah, I do. Or just this one at least. Oh, it's DMs here. It's not the same. Do it again. Do it again. You said you were out of touch. Alright. I'm not gonna make a habit out of it. I've been doing really good at not checking DMs on stream. Just because I've been spammed before. It's not you, but it has happened. If you know, you know. Oh, is this actual? Oh, that's Shadow. That's funny. I thought Shadow was the name. I didn't know it was Shadow the Hedgehog. You see my shirt? That's fucking hilarious, actually. Oh, it's fake now. Now I have to get them. Oh, she's her litter box. Is that the milking table? Yeah, it is. Now I'm touching you. Yeah, that's why I asked. I didn't know you could tell, to be honest. Oh, it's funny because you haven't gotten a full image. I don't think I was leaning back or none. You probably just saw this and you're like, that's Shadow. You could tell. I know those ears anywhere. Also, don't all caps me. Don't yell at me, I'll come. Let's see. Yeah, well, your flavor of autism is Sonic. Actually, no, my flavor of autism is Resident Evil. Oh, that's a nice puzzle. Oh, no, gold. I assumed it was a colorway. And Denial is a river in Egypt. Well, I'm not a Sonic fan. If anybody is fucking autism for Sonic, it's the guy that did the Sonic stream. And has custom Sonic emotes made by yours truly, or alerts. So when you get the Shadow Tims, you get extra points on Big Booty Latinas. Oh, that's actually funny. Probably. I see what you did there, though. It's like semi-canon now that he's into Latinas.
One ingredient left.
Yes, you do, from New York Latinas only. It's the best kind, isn't it? Eradicate the blue medallions. The blue medallions have hung around for far too long. They're an eyesore. I need to go. The map? They are. Welcome.
What can I do?
Can I combine this? No.
Ruby's all rubbish. It makes no difference.
No difference.
That's our choice to make. A deal well struck. Oh, I'm back. Good.
Don't get too excited, guy.
Hope to.
As someone who has uploaded multiple clips inside with Latina women, I can for sure say that it's worth it. That is hilarious. Unloaded clips. That's amazing. M20? Nice.
See you again. Welcome. What can I interest you in?
That makes me want to laugh like fucking
Welcome.
stranger here. The the merchant. So, let's just get started. Right now it's 11,000, 14,000, 19,000. You just wait until I get the other gems. Actually, let me get one now. Or, you know what? Let me...
There's something.
Should get a small key while I'm here, to be honest. It's always good to have at least one.
Try that on.
Wait, no, I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to tune up. Fuck!
All yours, stranger.
I wanted to repair it.
A well
I don't have to, because I haven't been using that, man.
Lack of skill.
Joe, I've got retarded.
Dazzled, are you?
Joey, I was make me happy. Love it. Joey, I was a whore, all caps, back in the day, man, when I used to be a real DJ. I used to DJ. Do you have your music uploaded anywhere for us to listen to? I think I'm good with everything. Let me go ahead and... Can I send this to storage? Discard it, though. I'll just use that till it breaks. Wait, what can I craft? Make some room though. Mama, make me happy. I'll remember you when I see you in my head movies, or whatever the fuck he says. Yes and no, you can't hear it, lol. Fine. I don't want to hear it anyway. I really do. I do. That's all good, no pressure. No judgments. I don't have a single music bone in my body. And I can play guitar kind of with taps. But that's it. Should I do more? Should do more.
Oi.
So it's not. It was dubstep, so it's not relevant anymore. Oh, there's still some dubstep fans out there somewhere. Probably love to hear that. Wait, this one. I'm kind of good on handgun.
Buy something while you can.
You should go on the Ghost House Twitch channel tomorrow. He reviews music. I record it in his studio.
You may regret it later.
I did save, right? Yeah. I did, Joey. You literally just saved.
Okay, Luis, that's 2.
I make some dubstep.
From the castle wall. You bring them all to the top of the wall, and I'll have your hammer. Oh, and here's some more info I've recovered about that old rock.
How many chapters are in here? Let me see. Not that it matters. I probably don't have to look it up, but I'm gonna. How many chapters in Separate Ways remake? 7. Okay, and I'm on 4, so I'm halfway through. I probably won't finish this tonight. Maybe Wednesday? Late Wednesday, and then we'll play a little bit more Outbreak File 2 on Thursday. And Friday's optional. I actually think I might have plans on Friday. I won't be able to stream, but if I could do, you know, today, Wednesday, Thursday, I think I'll be in a good spot. Bye, fishy. Can I collect you and eat you? I can. So funny backstory. Back in the day, I gave a Twitch streamer my EP, and he and his wife, who used to be Big Shot producer, ripped my shit apart so bad I legit cried. LOL. Aw. Not really mean. He'll give you feedback, but he's not going to tear you apart. Yeah, that fish is huge. That's a huge fish. That's a huge fish. It kind of reminds me of the feedback we used to get in art school. We used to get ripped apart sometimes too. Like one of our, we had 2 teachers there, great artists, and their names were Randolph and Kevin. And man, they would not be mean, but it would hurt. It's like a little arrow, like right in the heart. But it's okay, because you get tougher hide that way. I was like 19, bro. Send me a link on Joey's Discord. DJ press same name. Yup. The hoes are laughing. Yup. Alright, you're going down, motherfucker. Actually, I really have to fuck him up. Of course not. Oh, damn, bro. No, don't you do some shit. Don't you do shit. You stay here and die. Motherfucker. Hold on. Get the fuck out the way. I'm not in the mood. Get back here, boy. Get back here, boy. Fuck is fast. Come on, guys. Stay feet. Whee! Where that motherfucker at? Got some fuck and some shit. Got some fuck and some shit. Got a fuck shit stack. A fuck shit stack. What? Ah! Wait! Okay. Where is he? I can hear him over here. Come on, this is getting stressful. Hold on. He's coming to kill me. Damn. Oh my god, please die.
Here we go.
Oh god. Reload, bitch. Ah, wait. No! Nice parry. Reload, bitch! God, I gotta upload good. Ah! Oh my god! Oh, you too? Alright. You get that last plug guy over there.
My head.
Shit, there's somebody behind me. Hey, bitch. Hey, bitch. Where is this mother? Oh, shit. Fuck off, guys. Oh, he's over here somewhere. I'm fucking feeling a little overwhelmed here. Motherfucker's feeling a little overwhelmed right now. A little overstimulated. Come on. Alright, hold on. Yup, can I give a hot take here? Sure. It's a safe space. Unless it's you like the Resident Evil Netflix show. I sent you your DM. Just say your boy sent you. Shouldn't the tentacles be coming from those people make Ada feel at home? I think I know you're going with it, but Ada is Chinese, and what you're saying is a Japanese thing. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I was just trying to run. Oh, I think I'm in the right spot though. You know, stories are overrated. 2 and 4 are meh. That is a hot take. Get out of here. Get out of here. That's crazy. You're crazy, Todd. You're crazy. You're crazy, man. What are your favorite Resident Evils? God damn it. Where is this motherfucker? Oh, actually, wait. Let me get back there. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's right. I was supposed to be shooting these too. Forgot about the, ooh, I'm really glad I caught that. I'm a fan of Ethan Winters. I actually like Ethan too. I think Ethan's overhated. Ethan's awesome. Like, yeah, like some, like an anime villain. He's like, yeah, well, you're stupid. Like, that's his charm here. I fucking love it. Such a dork. Oh shit, I hear more. Thought I did. Oh shit. Oh god. Okay. They sound like the boos that you capture in Luigi's Mansion, by the way. They sound like to me. Chinese, Japanese, it's all the same. Oh my god. Same between the knees, right? Ah, damn it, I did it again. I'm gonna go up there. Yeah, where'd that motherfucker go? I don't hear going Los Plogos anymore. I didn't kill him already, did I? Also, yeah, I like Ethan too. We like Ethan here. But more than Leon's story? I mean, honestly, he does have good stories. He's part of good stories. Hold on, I gotta find the rest of these while I'm here.
Now, where are the others?
That's what I'm saying. I didn't pick it up, did I? No, I did not. Whee! You know, Jay Conquers actually has a similar sentiment. Not that he thinks Leon's overrated, he's just sick of him and he misses Chris. What about Jake? Jake's fine. Not. He's no Leon. I like 6. I don't love it. Actually, that's a lie. I love the gameplay a lot. What was I gonna say? I had a point I was gonna make. Of the new protagonists in that one, I actually think Jake was like probably the weakest, dude. I think Piers. I miss Piers. Well, I wouldn't be opposed to Jake coming back. In fact, I kind of hate that Resident Evil does that, where it's like they'll introduce like protagonists and just keep them to one game. It's like, give me back Sheva, you bitch. Bring me back Sheva now! Oh, I did kill him. You don't give me back my fucking Sheva, I'm gonna have a bitch fit.
That should do it.
Alright, where's that fucking thing? Because he's on the side of this. I didn't realize he was that close. Ah, mazes, am I right? Got ye!
Finally.
Jake was like the cool guy that they were trying to push. He had an attitude like, yeah, I'm gonna show up later in the sequels. Yeah, they even kind of sequel bait him at the end. Honestly, I could see them bringing him back, mostly as like a plot device where it's like, oh, the blah blah antigen virus cure thing, suppressant, was derived from Jake Mueller's antibodies. Blood, you know, they'll do some shit like that at some point, probably. Probably 9. How do we get back up there? Or it could just be a throwaway line, right? Oh, no, it's up here. It could be a throwaway line, like in one of the animated movies. And, you know, it's kind of been implied. I mean, everybody hates them, so we'll see maybe after the remake, but they implied that everybody's favorite Steve can come back. Where the fuck is it? Is it over here? Is it? Oh, it is. All right, sorry. Whee!
The last ingredient's not far now.
Right, and I'm out of supplies. Not really. I'm doing pretty well, all things considered. Oh wait, I got all of the did. Yeah, cool. Blue medallions. What else are you gonna throw at me? Yeah, I think those dudes were infinite spawning until I got the main one. Also, I have the power! Oh, I don't know what I thought. Oh, this is where the El Gigante fell. Oh shit, he's still alive!
That's right. I still have some unfinished business to take care of.
He's a ghost. Oh fuck. Oh, Ellie. Fuck. Oh, sorry. Oh, that'll do. And then watch, I'm gonna ruin it all right now because I'm gonna start combining or crafting. Shotgun shells, yes. Bonus? No, fuck. And some machine gun. You're. Tell you what. nom nom nom. They should bring Billy back. They say he survived somehow. Who's they? And is this? They just said he survived the events of RE0. I think he died. Like he probably did live, but I don't know, man. There's even like a line that he says where I think they, you know, they're being subtle, but it could be like a wink at the audience where he's like, "Where are you gonna go?" He's like, "I'm already dead," or something like that, and then he disappears into the sunset, or some shit like that. He's, "I'm a dead man."
But my little.
I know he's saying, he's like, "Oh, you killed me officially," you know, like in the reports and bullshit. But
As long as you can keep your
in my imagine, Billy dead.
He's a good boy. Predictable.
Call me a good boy.
Fine. Keep your mutt. But don't come crying to me if you get bit.
He's good boy.
Leon, changed your mind yet?
Yeah.
Assuming you haven't, I've got a tip for you.
I got a tip for
Seems like
you.
something big is about to go down in the throne.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Babysitting's tough, huh?
You loot for me? Oh, where the fuck am I going? Drop down? No, I don't think that's where it wants me to go. Is it? Eh. No. This way. This way. Whee! Oh, the spot she was fucking looking. That makes sense. It's just like fucking Batman. There's stuff down there. I climb back up. There's like a ladder, right? Oh no, I have a fucking grapple. Fuck, I didn't mean to do that. I'm just saying, I bet down here there's something. I mean, it would be cool to bring Billy back. Mátalo. Oh, they sound like they're above me. Oh, I'm below. Bring it out, motherfucker. I'll be waiting. Puta. Oh, that killed him. Sweet. What will be your best pick to line up? Oh, pick up line to try to bag Ada. Hey, Wong rhymes with dong. Coincidence? I don't know. It really depends on what I'm given. I can make a Wong joke, like, oh, two Wongs don't make it right. Something, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not good at this. I'm good at comebacks. Barely. What would yours be? Okay, let's actually go that way. I just want to loot, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you know what? And there could be some stuff down there. Let's go. Drop down. I didn't even check over here. Oh, and I probably have to. Alright, this works out. I would try something like, I'm ready to eat a little Chinese takeout and split my fortune cookie to see my future. Nice. It's just crazy enough to work. Oh, dude, this is awesome. Okay, I think I was supposed to do all that. Doing a little exploring, you know? Also need to run into the merchant again so I can trade in and get my spinels back. Oh, fuck. Oh, god damn it. It was, It's over here, right?
I should check below.
That's scripted because I just did. Look, yellow paint. I wonder where I'm supposed to go. Better to come in the sink than sink in the cum. What's up, like you game? How you doing? Well, that reminds me of the realize. My sack. Big, my doctor said I got testicular cancer. That's funny. Is that your pickup line? Oh, what's up? I see. For Sheva, I would say I have water and food.
Collection room. Blue butterfly.
Oh, I don't know this. Figure this out. Let's see. Cedro's note. April, 9 years since my awakening. I have received a written petition from Mendez. He wants me to forgive the servant who foolishly ran away. He does not understand. It's not only a matter of forgiveness or unforgiveness. Only my noble pursuit matters, for which countless sacrifices are required, and honor for all who dwell in the land of our master. Besides, it would be impossible to remove it from his body now. She implants her prey with part of herself, manipulating their consciousness and trapping them in a waking nightmare. They are bent to her will, no matter how far they try to flee. Ooh, that's cool. It's like infinite range. The only way to truly escape the torment is to kill her, so the entity within her prey dies too. I imagine it being like a Clayface situation, where if it separates from the host, or from the prime, the main unit too long, it kind of just develops its own personality. Got so much cheese, my foreskin had to go. Oh, fucking, that's disgusting. Nice. I should write that one down. I think, Claire, all you have to say is, do you want to get some grilled cheese and play with Legos and look at trains? You leave my remake Claire alone. Leave her out of this. It is, after all, made up of specialized cells which cannot survive on their own, yet none are strong enough to put my hound, the Pesanta, down.
Good to know.
You make me
happy. Claire makes me happy. That's Claire. Welcome back, Jay. The collection master is a preparator's note. I don't know. The collection master is tacky and lousy boss. He leaves all the dissections for me to do. Even if he does bother to come down here, all he does is gawp at his 3 favorite specimens in a particular order before leaving. There's nothing special about them anyway. Why only look at those 3 specimens when we have a surprise butterfly to admire? Your researcher, no such things. All right, so what do we got? We got.
Interesting.
Okay, skull. Do I have to count everything? Oh shit! Nice. Do it for me. Detective mode. It's like Batman. Oh, all right. So we got. We're looking at here. Tracking mode. Yep. Is it how touched it is? How much jizz it has on it? Oh. Around circles. Go this way. Got the beetle skull thing. Oh, particular order. I see. So he walks in. Beetle thing. Right? Hold on. That's left, right? Yes. We got the beetle. Skull. Beetle skull. Is that a lizard? A dinosaur? What the fuck is that? Alligator? Alright, let's do it. Yay! How's work, Jay? Are you working tonight, you boy?
Got everything you need.
Good. I got exactly what you want.
It's fine. Oh shit. Is she infected? I actually don't remember that ever happening.
The parasite is reacting to the amber.
So that's the amber. That looks like something Wesker would want.
I like how she says Wesker instead of like my boss or whatever. Oh, dude, that looks just like the Puppet Master thing. Yeah, I'm working tonight. I don't have much longer, probably like 4 hours. Oh man, you're like smack dab in the middle of your shifts. Well, I hope it's going well.
This will knock out the parasite.
Parasite.
But only for a time.
You got a parasite.
To salud.
Just buying you time. Oh shit, it's a Shattered Limit Marathon. Life is fucking good. Welcome in, Bo.
It's not a cure.
I almost said your Bo instead of your boy. What up, Bo? I was watching you play the classrooms last night. Was it last night?
It's coming.
Oh, god damn it. I forgot about these fights. I kind of don't want to do this right now. I just feel like I waste my ammo.
I don't understand. It should be working by now.
Well, it's not. Fake scientist.
Once the parasite is sedated, you can give me back that damn stone.
I can't leave you here. Not like this.
Spare me. I'll be fine. You got another promise to keep.
Get out of bad dreams.
Come find me.
Get into my car. Doing good, bro. Yeah, that game is an insane roller coaster. So fun. I just love that you really dive into these horror games. It's really fun to see. Yay. No, I'm on chapter 5 out of what? 7? 6? What was it? 6, 7. Sorry. 7. Okay, damn. Let's... Oop. Let's go. I'm glad you're doing good. How's work been? It's probably like the last thing anybody ever wants to talk about. I'm sorry I asked that question. Just making combo. Do I fight or do I run? Fight.
Medicine. It's working.
It's working. It's working. I'm gonna punch through it. Probably. Oh yeah, for information, the strongest enemy in the classrooms is named Joey, so clearly they know their shit. That's ironic. That's cool, I didn't realize that. Did you beat it? Are you gonna be streaming that next? When is your next stream? Fuck, I'm tired. I can't do this yet. I need to play for like another hour at least. Stop yawning, Joey.
Louis has the amber. I need to reach him.
Well, let me loot other shit first. Go after Luis. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, yeah, I did. Your face. Your face! What up, Devil? How you doing, man? Finally alive, buddy. How is your night going, fam? Did I do this right? Probably not. Oh, I did. Holy shit. Hold on, I'm just wandering. I'm trying to loot and go like the wrong way so I find everything, but I just circle back anyway. Yeah, let's go this way. I finished the current campaign, but there's a whole ass infinite mode. Yeah, see, I think I saw you playing that, where it randomly generates levels that get increasingly more insane. I got like, I got up to like step 71 or something. Oh goddamn, bananas! 71 in like an endless dungeon thing. That is impressive. It's like just go until you die. Is it like procedurally generated? I got a banana for you.
Must have gone this way.
Get more of a plantain, but I get I get it.
Won't budge.
Yeah, I didn't think that would work. Whee, do it. Let me just look. Whee. Oh, wait. Did I just make a whole ass circle? Oh, no, that's where I gotta go. What up, Jay Conkers? Yeah, what up? You jive turkey? What am I doing in ammo? Doing alright. Should reload this while I can. Working and twerking. So is Borderlands gonna be like your main stream right now? We're gonna mix it up. Oh wait, but he fell down there. I forgot to just follow him. Okay, he went this. Oh god damn it, Castle! I know what to do. Ooh, what's this? Chronicles of Pursuit, Torn. December, 8 years since my awakening. I'm at a loss in my endeavors to combine man with insect. Their fusion is not coming to fruition, and my patience wears thin. The housekeeper has long suffered, and I confess my hair stands on end when I hear her screams of anguish. Will I ever achieve perfection? I have two choices. The first is to continue with my current method, to change nothing, but instead widen my search for compatible insect components. Second is more callous, more immoral, adding yet another completely different organism. If done poorly, the latter choice will likely lead to failure, but I fear I shall not break this deadlock if I do not adjust my current methods. Yeah, you want to know the definition of insanity? I'm definitely finishing Borderlands 2. Nice. I just want to see you play like an RPG or more Resident Evil. The housekeeper will break. Well, I guess it is an RPG, but you know what I mean. The housekeeper will break if things continue on as they are now. I must decide what to do now. His humble servant, Isidro Uriarte Talavera. Why did I change that goddamn hotkey? I'm glad I turned around. Alright. Where's that fucking switch? Oop. Wait. What? What? I was so convinced that that's what I would need to do. Let's try one more again. If I go this way, it's locked, isn't it? Oh no, I can go this way. Right? LOL. ROTF LOL. Come here, motherfucker. Shut up. Oh, okay, I got him. Got him. Sick. Don't make me backtrack more. My dumbass brain can't take this. I've been smoking. I'm only good for shooting right now.
What is this?
Luis's note. Ada, I hope it's you reading this. I'm going to the mines tunnel. God damn it, dude, I can't read. I'm going to the mine tunnels to try and regroup with Leon. I overheard Ramon in the castle intercom saying that Leon's heading that way and right into trouble. You can get there through the waterway. It's dangerous, but I'll leave some signs to point you in the right direction. It's yellow paint, isn't it? Red paint. What a twist. Fuck. Alright, let's go. Oh. This way. This game's pretty. The fuck? What does that say? Oh, dude, you can see your ribcage underneath that. That was kind of cool. Any loot for me? I guess not. Oh no, not the Scooby-Doo bats.
A nest. Hope it's not a sign of things to come.
Ada, you've been in Biohazard adventures before. What? Stoner Panda! What's good? I miss you. How you doing?
It won't open.
Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, everybody. My name is Shattered Limit. I'm a nerd, and I'm a variety streamer, and I like Resident Evil. What up, Panda? Wait, is it locked? Like, is it like a padlock that I can shoot? I wasn't paying attention. How was your stream? Oh shit. How do I, is it 8? Yeah. No. Welcome, Raiders. Yeah, welcome in, everybody. Here, that gets you. I hope you've been well. I know we don't really chat much these days.
No, you can't. You cannot mod on phone. Big bra.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Oh shit. Fucker.
He wants to delete one of his chats. You can just talk to Lena, she'll do it for you. Or you can just tell me, and nobody can hear you, and I'll delete it for you. You could do that, yeah.
Stay down. I should just stab your ass. Dude, I love the Final Fantasy raid alert. Oh, nice. I have alerts for all of them. Like, follows, raids, subs, cheers. But thank you. That means a lot. Hey, what up, Bloody? Fuck you, Bloody! Bloody, fuck you! Nice. Very nice. Impressive.
Won't budge.
How you doing, bud?
I'm not swimming in that.
I might. That's how I feel. I'm really like sore and tired right now. But it's okay. I want to like at least get as far into this as I can. Shit. Is this gonna work? Can I? No. Fuck. You? I'm alright. Just finishing some arc. Kind of tired. Called it early for. What's up? Well, that's good. I'm glad you're having fun with that game. I should still wait before I use that. I can eat the fishy. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Take that, motherfucker! But yeah, anybody here? I know sometimes you gotta raid and run, so no worries. But I appreciate the raid altogether, and those that stick around, if you want, I hope you have fun. And once again, thank you, Panda. Lord of the Waterway. Did you catch sight of the giant shadow moving through the water? It looks like Gregorio's waterway has a lord reigning over its murky channels. Find out what it is and catch it for me, will you? Tell the Lord of the Waterway. Is that where I'm at? Gregorio's waterway? I guess so. Let's do it. Just don't kill me. Don't kill me!
Well, I'll be. A request already done and dusted.
Yes, I did take care of one. Salazar family chronology. Waterway. For many years, the existence of the waterway beneath the castle was forgotten. According to our records, it was built by 3rd gen Count Gregorio, the architect. The reason for its construction is unclear, but it may have been done to contain the deadly insects that plagued its predecessor. Count Hippolito. Water is, after all, a symbol of purity for the Salazar family. Gregorio's waterway was rediscovered during the excavation of an underground tunnel during the order of the 8th gen Count Ramon. The elaborate, beautiful architecture is just one example of Gregorio's iconic work. He redirected the river to flow underground, creating both a waterworks and sewage system. Ooh. It can even be used as a water storage facility during times of drought. I don't think you want to do both of those. The construction can only be described as a magnificent feat of architecture for a time. But its beauty is wasted on our ruling simpleton. The only interest he showed in the place was using him as a tool to drown those who dare oppose him. Insolence! Gregorio must be turning in his grave.
Well done. You've
Raid.
proven yourself reliable.
Oh, rip shields away from certain enemies using the grapple gun? Dude, that's actually kind of sick.
Years haven't been kind to us.
Nice, 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 nice. Oh, there she is. I want that one. Dude, that's awesome. Fuck those shield bitches. And then, which one do I need more?
Need time.
Oh, what do these guys? Oh, these are the only ones I do have. And then equip. Better? Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Oh, and then treasure. Ooh. Well, I checked. Oh, wait, wrong one, though. Dang. Okay. Man, I need everything. Fuck.
Got some rare things on sale.
See, I'll get that.
Good instinct, stranger. Now
see, one mo.
I'll go and cook. Welcome. Ruby's all rubbish. It makes no difference. The price, well.
Tune up. Grab the knife. Ooh, the power went up too, and durability.
Your weapon. Good luck to you, stranger. Dazzled, are you?
I do use the knife a lot.
Craftsmanship demands no less.
I have targets, goddamn.
Life needs care every once in a while. Could be the difference between life and death.
Oh, honestly, the reload speed if I can. That shit is atrocious right now.
Dazzled, are you?
I'm broke. I've lost everything. What else can I buy? My power scope? Don't need it. Stingray? Don't want it.
That cash in your pocket or your life.
Oh, shit. I do need that.
Information is a comeback.
Tight. Oh shit, I forgot that was wait, what button was that? Not that one. Why did I do that? It's quick turn, I forget. Whatever. Alright, can I shoot this motherfucker in the water now? I think I can. Or not. I have to lower the water. Yes. Noodle Dory, how you doing? What's up? Not much. Fighting for my life, you know. As you do. What are you up to? Let's go for a swim. I'm actually trying. It won't. Oh shit! I forgot to explode. That scared me. It won't let me. Hey, that's it. I just died. How do I rip your shield away? Like that, bitch! Oh. Bam. Supersized roaches didn't know this was New York. Yeah, it's the movie Mimic. Remember that one? Movie's dope. I can survive another hit. Watch me die. Hey, fucker. Hey, bro. Hey, fucker. Yeah. Oh shit. Oh shit. Wait. This is bad. Okay. I'll use you. And I'll move that. Ooh, perfect. And then grenades. This game is a myth. Wait, did you hear GTA got delayed again? Oh yeah, I did. I'm not surprised. And to be honest, I don't care. Like, I like GTA enough, but I'm not like, I'm down to wait, you know? Let's get it right. I'd rather have a game come out late than broken. I'm totally going the wrong way, I think. Yeah, I am. Mimic was a banger. The scene with the homeless dude on the train platform that turns out to be a giant mutant roach scared me as a New Yorker. Oh, that's right, you are in New York. You know, the part that got me was, yeah, the reveal that what they are. Like, it just looks like a dude in a trench coat. And then, like, yeah, no, big roach with mantis thingies. Dude, the part that got me was when it fucked those two kids up in the sewers. That was the first time I saw a movie where I was like, oh shit, the kid's not safe. Nice. Why is Ada here again? I never played the DLC. Oh, so Ada was actually present during the campaign when he plays Leon. It's just that we're playing through what she was doing at that point. So this is happening at the same time as the main Resident Evil 4 campaign. Know what I'm saying? Yep, super disturbing. Yeah, I remember the first time I saw it. Because I went in blind, because, like, you know, I wasn't really exposed to big movie trailers and shit back then. And just amazing effects too. More like Gata. I think Rockstar is delaying it long enough to go the next gen consoles so they can sell it to this gen, the PS5, Xbox, and then it would. Well, dude, this is what, $2 billion. They're gonna be selling GTA 6 till the end of time. It'll be like 3 gens. They'll still be selling it, like Skyrim. I don't know until they recently that Guillermo del Toro directed it. Yeah, he didn't write it, but he directed it, which makes sense. It has like that del Toro kind of fantasy design. Hey, have you watched Welcome to Derry? I have, but let's not spoil it for anybody that hasn't. But I will say, I'm loving it. I actually wanted to watch the latest episode last night, but it wouldn't load for me, so I'm gonna try again tonight after stream. But I am very much looking forward to that. What is it with you guys in the fucking... Oh shit. Stay right there, boy.
Lights out.
Yeah, Welcome to Derry is pretty dope. So, Oh, really? Word? Alright, they're gonna wake up later. Where is it? There you are. Oh shit. did I pick up earlier? What was that? Yeah, in fact, dude, I like Welcome to Derry significantly more than It Chapter 2. I will say that first episode at the end threw me off. Yeah, it threw everybody off, which I respect, dude. But yeah, I actually didn't really like It Chapter 2 as much as everybody else seems to. It was just too funny. Like, It Chapter 1 was funny, but it at least knew when to shut the fuck up and be a horror movie. It Chapter 2 was legitimately like a comedy. I haven't decided what to stream next. I think either a CRPG or ARPG. I'm thinking the original Baldur's Gate or Fallout. Oh, dude, Fallout. Fallout. I don't like the orgy scene. Jeez. Jay? No. Oh, wait, I'm going the wrong way. Bad Jay. Bad Jay. Man, dude, I read that and I was like, Steven. Steven, don't do that. Don't write that. Wait, no, it's not over here though. It's this way. Ah, fuck. Yeah, it's over here. I gotta go around. Splish splash, I'm taking a man. You wrote that part on Epstein Island. Yeah. Dude, do you think Stephen King was there? And maybe in a cocaine field thing, he accidentally included it in his notes and he got it published and he was like, fuck! Fuck! If you think that's bad, you should read Playground. Oh, dude, I actually really want to read. Wait. Is there an orgy scene in Playground? Yes or no? I don't want details because what I do know of the book, I do kind of want to read it. Because I don't know, man. I think writing about kids getting murdered is probably easier to stomach than a child gangbang. Just saying. Sounds like a pass for me. Not into PDF stuff. I don't get it. Public says of. Oh. What's PDF? No, the orgy scene in Playground books. Just disturbing. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I can deal with. Like I said, I can deal with like saw traps with children, but like. You have to put your thingy in me. I was like, oh, geez, what are you doing? Steven, stop. That's a safe way to say pedo. Trying to avoid that on your stream. Oh, okay, okay. Well, I appreciate the censorship. Oh, shit. Motherfucker. Stay down, please. Oh, PDF. I get it. I get it. Yeah, I mean, I liked, well, no, Playground, from my understanding, it's not anything like the sewer scene. That's why I was asking. I was like, does it include that too? Because, from what I can tell or what I know, it's basically like Saw with kids. And that sounds fun. Like, I'm pretty sure the cover of the book, it's a slide with a buzzsaw on it. You know what? That's official. That's gonna be my next book. I'll come back with you, to you with notes and a review. I don't actually blame King for that part in the book. Conceptually, it makes perfect sense. The problem is the extreme detail. How does it make sense, though? Like, I understand. It was like they lost... Oh my god, does this play into the whole macroverse bullshit and... I don't know. Oh, the orgy in it? Yeah, defend this. Please. Flip it. No, I was kidding. No, I don't know, man. I think the book would have been better without it.
Take a look.
It's unnecessary detail. That'd be fucking bro. No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I am very uncomfortable. No, it's the straightforward way of them leaving their childhood behind and becoming adults. Oh, jeez. You couldn't find another metaphorical way of doing that, Steven? Fuck. I'm running out of space. Where the hell is... Oh, there he is. Oh, shit. Oh, God. I guess that makes sense. But yeah, you're saying like the graphic detail. It's a bit much. They need to stop being children. I mean, they're still children. It's not like they're not children because they banged each other. It's written in the Bible, at the moment your peen bursts, you're no longer a child. Well, I'm not religious. I don't know if that's the best metric. It says lots of things. Yeah. It should have been like chapter 48. The kids all fucked and the fat one had a huge dick. Next chapter. Buy that merch, yo. Shatterkiss, book 3, chapter 69. We found out they were no longer roommates. That's more like it. Is that so hard? Oh god. It's spooky. Also, hold on. Can I zoom in? I can zoom in. Alright, it'll loop around. Also, I'm scared. Time to get the big guns out. It was a decent book. I actually don't like it, you know, the movies, and I think it only works as a book. I think they could structure the movies to be more like the book, especially since they took the time to do like 2 segments, you know? I feel you, but I don't think it's impossible to... I think they did a decent job. Oh, wait, but the actual like Ritual of Chud stuff, that's hella different in the book. If that's what you're referring to. And then yeah, some of the metaphysical stuff. I don't know, I feel like you can get those themes across. But no, I feel you. I really like the first of those 2 movies that they made. And as I said, I actually wasn't really a fan of the second one, the latest movie that we got, just because, I mean, it's too funny. Like every time they tried to do something, it would be undercut with humor, and like it really does take away. Like I get it, he's a clown and blah blah blah, but like he's more than that. Way more than that. You could. He was actually like fucking terrifying in the first one, but not so much in the sequel. I'm gonna backtrack just for a minute because there might be some more shit over here that I missed. Hey! Found you. Is that the thing I need? Lord of the Waterway, baby! Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna eat. Oh shit. It's largely a structural thing, yeah. The story only works when moving back and forth between kids and adults. Doing it in the order of events is retarded and can't work. No, I know, but what I'm saying is, like, I think they totally could take what they have now and re-edit it to be more structured like the book. You know what I mean? Because there's parts where it's like, it's damn near... It's like 2 stories told concurrently. It could work. You just need to actually do it. Just throw it on HBO Max, call it a day. Maybe. The problem... Sorry, I got small chat. The problem is where to cut it, and if it's all one movie, it would have to be like 5 hours long. So be it, you know? Did you read the book in one sitting? Do you think a series would be better, just in that structure? And literally follow the book? That could work, no? genuinely curious, just as like in a storytelling sense. Let me make more shotgun ammo then. Fuck. All right, I can't. Submachine gun? No. Back. Let's see. Let's eat the fishy. Everything reloaded? That's a huge fish. Damn, dude. I actually don't have room for this motherfucker right now. I'll just get rid of this one. Be that way! Oh wait, I probably could have rotated him.
Got myself a big one.
That's what she said.
How long had it been living down here?
Honestly, I didn't think it would ever fully work on film. Like a lot of King stories, it's too cerebral. Makes it Lovecraftian. The best cantations make huge changes from the book, like The Shining. Yeah, when they do stick to the book, even if he directs it, it's not very good. I don't like his Stephen King's miniseries of The Shining. But that movie is a masterpiece, so I see what you mean. I mean, you can just read the books. Like I was telling you, fuck, I was just saying, okay, I want to read Playground, and then I want to read Dark Tower. I've never actually read it. I love his books, but most of them would make shitty movies. It's fair. How do I crouch again? F? E? It's E. Oh, because that's the dodge crouch button. What about Tommy Knockers? What about it? I mean, I think that works as a movie. Dark Tower is legit. I'm a big fan. Yeah, that's the... I've been thinking about it a lot. You know, it's funny because of Welcome to Derry. And I think I mentioned it even before then on your stream. But, yeah, I'm gonna read Playground, because how long can that be, you know? No Stephen King book. And then, I'm thinking, Dark Tower. I'll start that finally. I really enjoyed Tommy Knockers. I think it would make a terrible movie. I like Tommy Knockers too. I think I was telling you about it, right? And you know what's funny, Jay? I think they're making a movie. I think it's like literally like in development. Did everyone watch the show The Stand? I did not. Oh shit. Ah shit. No, I don't have Magnum. I don't got Magnum. Grenades. Ahí está. Oh, I should have crouched under that. Okay, hold on, sorry. They already made a movie or miniseries. Yeah, they made a miniseries. And I'm not trying to be a contrarian here to you, but I do kind of agree with Jay. I actually don't like that miniseries. I don't like a lot of the Stephen King miniseries. I think the only ones I did like back in the day would have been like the Andromeda Strain. I'll probably watch it, but if they don't make massive changes, it will suck. It has no main character, and everyone is slowly deforming, disgusting monster slave the whole book. How the fuck do you make a movie out of that? Maybe like as an anthology? Or they could do how Weapons did it. Ow! Oh shit. Ah! Fuck off! It's like Doom infighting. I'll reload. He can't hear me reload, can he? Fuck! Thank you for killing the parasite, mister. I'm gonna read The Stand soon. I've never read it. I got the audiobook. Might do that next. I haven't read The Stand either. I saw parts of the original series, but I never finished it actually. I would like to read it because, and that's another thing. I know, and this is definitely part of it, that I think it started with Dark Tower, that they actually started confirming that a lot of these, at least through the whole Macaverse, multiverse bullshit, that all of his stories are connected. At least a good chunk of them. Like there's characters that are in it. There's concepts that are in Dark Tower and stuff. Like the Low Men. I only know the miniseries has the chick from Just Shoot Me with the huge rack. I know who you're talking about. I don't know her name though. That's funny. Dude, Just Shoot Me. That's a reference. I haven't thought about that show since like 2004 or some shit like that. The show was good. Oh, the new one? I think I heard mixed things about it. I'm down to watch it, but honestly, I'm at a point where it's like I don't read enough. I would like to read a goddamn book. I haven't done that in like what? Definitely over a year. Last book I read, I think it was last year. It was The Fool by Christopher Moore. That's a fun one. That's actually a hilarious book. It's basically King Lear from the perspective of the Fool. Big old titties on that show, 10 out of 10. I think Whoopi Goldberg was also in The Stand, and I know James Morrison, the guy who played James Marsden, right? James Marsden? The guy who played Cyclops in the Sheriff from Sonic movie was in The Stand. I read like 30 books this year. Well, good for you! That's actually really good. Now, did you read? Or did you listen? There's people that say that they read an audiobook. I want to kick them in the throat. All audiobooks, I just listen to the books while I patrol. Fair. It's the same thing, bitch. No, it's not. Are you reading what I'm saying right now?
You again?
Oh! Let's do it. I like this one. Oh, cool.
You're sure to find something you'll love. Welcome. Ooh, what you buying?
Mm-hmm.
I'll buy almost.
Yeah. Oh shit, I can sell a lot more. Actually, just because I want to see the big money, I'm gonna. Okay. Wait, but I gotta get like a different color. You get these. Oh, I just find the order doesn't even matter. Those are there. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. He has new lines when he talks to her. I'm just not giving him a goddamn chance to speak.
Ruby's all rubbish. It makes no difference. The price, well, that's our choice to make. I knew you were a go-getter.
You gotta provide the receipts that there is any less benefit to audiobooks compared to reading paper.
What's that? How have we procured these curiosities? You don't.
What benefit is there? I mean, I feel like reading is inherently like better, right? Like reading. I mean, sure, you could say there's like no less benefits, but you're not reading. So you should at least rephrase it.
Oh,
You listened to it. You didn't read it.
Will that be all then?
I'd say the benefit if I read more is I wouldn't sound like a fucking retard when I try to read on stream. That's a benefit. I only read cliff notes of books. Nice. That's just semantics. The outcome is the same whether you read with your eyes or listen with your ears. Who cares? I guess it's semantics, but like the definition's important. You're not reading. Not reading. It's not. You're not reading a book. Sure, you absorb the same story, but you didn't read it. I wasn't even mentioning benefits. I was just saying, yeah, semantics. I'll agree with you there. This is an argument of semantics. Fuck. Fuck. It's like crap. Yeah, chat. You gonna say that blind people can't read books because they listen to audiobooks if they don't feel like touching Braille? Yeah, they didn't read it. Are you reading our conversation when we're talking to each other? Like, I'm not arguing whether or not they're getting the same story. I'm arguing that they're not reading. I'll consider that. Yeah, I think Braille, that counts as reading, you know? But to say that listening to an audiobook is reading, that's just false. You're listening. I've listened to audiobooks. There's nothing wrong with it. I have closed captions on, so yes, I'm reading our conversation.
Check out my
You're reading it, but you're also listening to it. Like, you're doing both. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Braille is no more reading than audiobooks. I mean, I guess you're using different senses, you know? That is a good thing, though. I don't know. Maybe that's where you stump me here when it comes to Braille. You can make a point that Braille isn't reading either. Maybe reading in my definition is strictly through eyesight, you know? Oh, you got me there. But still, audiobooks are not. Touching books isn't reading them. Okay. I concede there then. But listening isn't reading either. And like I was saying, I'm not saying like it's bad or that like you're not getting the same story in a different medium or different, you know. But it's not reading. That's all. That's all I said. That's all my point is. Blind assholes can't even read. I didn't say that either. Well, I guess by that definition they can't, but fuck them. But you know what I'm saying, right? So with that being said, how many books did you read this year? Read. I should get different colors. Oh, actually, I need yellow or green. And then, yeah, yellow or green. Let me see if I can buy them. Oh, no, I can't because I don't have enough of the, Hey, didn't I? Oh, I did get some more. Okay. 3. Or a lot of short stories, no novels. That's right. I want to read your short stories.
A wise choice. I know. I say that a lot, but I mean, don't.
Oh, fuck, I wasted that. No, there'll be more jewels. Oh, shit. These are cool. Oh, God. I don't care. Just sell it.
Get yourself welcome.
Mostly erotic Sonic fanfic. Man of culture. Actually, no. We're not selling that one. Oh, I didn't have to do that. Blue. There or some shit. Oh no, green. And then yellow. So that one. You get red. 5 color baby. 100,000. Worth it, dude. Worth it. And I'll put you motherfuckers back in there.
Welcome.
Hell yeah.
Ooh, I'll pay a pretty penny for that. Give that the cat.
I agree with Shat. Listening is passive engagement. Reading requires you to process each word individually to further along with the story / information. Reading requires active participation. Thank you. That's way deeper than I was trying to get. But that is a good way of explaining what I was trying to get across. Thank you. Yo, Bo, you get a shout out.
wonder if my dad will like help.
Actually, I'll do shoutouts right now. Let's take a shoutout break. And then I gotta go take a pee-pee.
Come on, Dad. Hey, Dad, what are you doing? Can you help me with my fucking pee organ thing? I want a respec. Do you know how to do that, Dad? Like, can you show me?
A city.
Oh, that's Liza P, right?
It's
this is Geppetto, yeah. Is this a spoiler?
Any questions, and I'll fill in the gaps.
Ditto escaped. No.
Okay, can you help me? Oh. Well, I don't want to ask you about this shit. I want to ask you about the P organ. Can I respec?
Yeah, that was my first stream ever, lol. Oh, wait, really? You started with Liza P? Listening is only passive if you treat it that way. That's like arguing reading a textbook is better than going to class to listen to a lecture because it's active.
That was fucking awkward.
I mean, I guess there's such thing as active listening, right? But there's more to like listening to lecture. You have to do the assignments, do your own research. You know, there's like critical thinking involved with it. Fuck, but you can do that with audio. Damn you! I'm gonna tag Bowen for a second. Plus I gotta pee anyway. Oh, wait. I'm still doing shoutouts. Listening is only passive if you treat it that way. That's like arguing reading a textbook is better. No. I'm not arguing that reading is better. Nobody's arguing that. We're just saying the difference. Nobody said one is better or the other. I'm just strictly defining them. He didn't say passive was better than active. Here you go, bud. And then your boy, you're next.
Such an awkward angle.
Oh, Gears. Oh, is this when you're fucking doing terrible? Anyone who reads regularly has it happen where you read a whole page and remember nothing that was written. Reading can be passive in that way. Joey just called blind people bitches. Don't put words in my mouth. Just water I need to refill on. Welcome back, Bloody. You get a shout out too. Stay tuned. I'll put something else in your mouth. See, as I said that, I was like, I'm inviting this. I knew that was coming. Wait, what the fuck is that? Wait, what?
This is like what it's like whenever you eat Walmart melatonin.
Oh, is that
right
fuck. Is that the robot game? The Detroit, right? Is that Detroit? And fuck you, Bloody. Fuck you, motherfucker, Bloody. Remember when adults said reading too much was bad for you, like watching TV or radio? I do not remember that. I've always heard the opposite. People act like reading is in the fucking... Your future is in this book. Oh, wait, no, I did read this year. I read The Blink of an Eye. It's an editing book. Yes! I'm gonna make those bigger. Yeah, Detroit Become Human. Nice. Yeah, I gotta play that one of these days. Got Clancy Brown. Jesse Williams? Is that his name? I think those are the only two actors I recognize.
That was somehow I don't know
Nice.
how I did that.
6 only play that anymore because it's all cheat ridden. Hopefully they fix it and you can come back to it. You still play For Honor? Also, be right back. I gotta pee. Where is it? Which be right back will I do?
Fucking.
Oh, I guess. Oh, is it right? Crash out for a second.
I can't look there. I thought I was going the right way.
Which is why I encourage all of you, just go out there and compliment somebody, you know? I do it all the time.
Lower difficulty? Fuck you! Go on, lower these nuts onto your chin. Dicks.
Oh, you know, it's funny, I muted myself. I was actually reading and chatting. For Honor, been a hot minute, but I still haven't installed. And then good game.
Open up!
Yeah, I need to play Detroit. I have it on, like, PlayStation, I want to say. Burb.
Catch. Oh, shit. Later, Prince. No, I did not. Ew. Damn, dude. the fuck were you drinking? Thank you. Gang gang. Gang gang. These nuts. Gang gang.
Fat takes a steak, but no!
Sucks about a shotgun ammo, but there'll be more. You know? Wait, what the fuck?
I barely know you, but you seem cool. Here you go. What?
Shoot him with the dick. Oh, head. Get over here. Shoot you with the dick.
Any more tricks up your sleeve?
I will keep them coming.
Man, I am thoroughly enjoying this already, and it's been like 10 seconds.
This is amazing. Oh, what up, Salt? Do you go by Salt or Tofu? I've been teeter-tottering. How's your day going? Paint me like one of your French girls. Can I? Promise?
Did you kill Enrico?
Really?
Oh shit. Yeah. Like this.
Rebecca, no!
I'll show you. Chris, I have something to show you. Now, walk.
There's only 2 days to retirement.
That's funny. I just came back from the bathroom. I'm gonna get water. That's funny.
What game is that?
약간 그거 같아.
Black screen simulator?
일부러 이 상황이 사람들을
I have the VOD. I have the receipts.
Or PokeCatch? That's funny. And then I heard that. I was like, oh shit. Like, my fire alarm going off for a second.
이런 줄 알았다.
That scared the shit out of me.
That makes me a little less anxious about signing him up to look after you.
It is Ulysses.
I'm skeptical of anyone that OCP tries
Chat,
to
look, a
push
distraction.
on.
Where?
First Becker, then Washington. And let's not forget about Dr. Blanche. Speaking of which, Dr. Blanche, is she being helpful? Are you getting
I
anything out
stubbed
of
my
this?
toe. In my pants. Chat, look, butthole's out. Where? Bro, I'm FAO.
I'm back. Fuck, I have to finish that game.
Attack on Titan. I still gotta get on that.
Yeah, unlike them, I saw the whole thing.
Oh shit, he's eating her butt.
Savage.
He's eating her butt.
Now go and well.
Alright, oh yeah, did I take care of everything? I did not. I don't really think I need the high-powered scope.
You'll get some bang for your buck.
I have the bio one, which is nice, because I know I'm gonna fucking run into those goddamn regenerators. If I do Fallout, I won't do every Fallout. I'm not playing Bethesda games. Oh, that's fine. I mean, you don't have to marathon everything, you know? Oh shit, 20% chance. Really critical hit rate. Plus, I was very surprised because I started with Fallout 3, but when I did play Fallout 1, I was very surprised at how much it still felt like that. So whatever Bethesda did, I think they stayed faithful, at least until 4. 4 is a bad Fallout game. I know I don't think you, because I like to say I think it's a good game, just a terrible Fallout. I think you even say that you don't like it as a game, huh? Is that you? Or franchises are fun. I just hate Fallout 4. Yeah, Fallout 3 is okay, just bad writing. What about New Vegas? I think New Vegas has amazing writing. But yeah, franchises are fun. That's why I'm doing this, and that's why I'm gonna do Grandia. But fuck, I really just want to do 1 and 2 for Grandia. I never actually finished 3, so maybe I can come back to that one. And Extreme is fun, but God, it's kind of a slog after a point. There's just so many characters, but the gameplay is fun, you know? It's a good battle system. New Vegas is good. Dude, are you watching the show? Pretty tasty.
Yours, stranger.
Cute bear. -1 gunpowder when crafting. 8% running speed? Hey, dude, some of these are kind of sick. 8% 8% running speed. Nah. If it was like 15, I'd probably do it. 8's not a small amount for like your overall like movement speed, because I'd just be running. But I mean, it's not like I'll be fine without it. I'll be fine without it. I just saw the dollar signs, you know. Oh, also, Jay, you know, I think I've been telling you this. I want to do more rare games, like Rareware. So I'll probably finish Donkey Kong Country 3, even though I'm not liking it nearly as much. And I definitely want to play, and I forget which order. Is Donkey Kong 64 their next game, or was it Banjo-Kazooie and then Conker's or some shit? I think Conker's was like the last one they made for N64, right? You know? But I would like to stream those one of these days, because I have them all. I just don't have Banjo-Tooie, but I'm borrowing Rare Replay, so I could just stream it off my Xbox, probably. Play Conker's Bad Fur Day if you're gonna do Rare. Oh, well, the point is I'm gonna do them all. Rare was so good. DK64 after Banjo games. Conker's Bad Fur Day. Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah, if I do that, I'm gonna keep going, because I do plan on playing and probably streaming all of them. I would include GoldenEye and Better GoldenEye, which is what I played of Perfect Dark, which I do have. But also, like I said, I feel like once we get to the shooters, I'll probably just go with Rare Replay, because I know that they improved a lot. Play Jet Force Gemini. I have actually, that's a third-person shooter, right? I don't think I've never played that one. Is it the one with the bugs? No. Which one is that? It's Rare. No, I know it's Rare. I know it's Rare. I just, I'm trying to remember what it looks like. It's like a spacey game and you're shooting bugs or some shit. Am I confusing games? Here, can you see this? Okay, I'm doing capture, or what am I doing? Okay. Let's see. YouTube.com. Oh god. Oh, I didn't sign in. That's why. Jet Force Gemini. What is this? Here, trailer. Let's check out the trailer. Yeah, oh, it's Bug Aliens. It's fun. Let's watch. Can I mute the game real quick? Hold on. Sorry. There's a little intermission. Then I'll get back to the game, I promise. Sound mixer. And let me just mute Resident Evil for a second. Shut up, Resident Evil. All right, let's see. Oh, fuck. Get in or get out. I remember those. Sorry. Oh, hell yeah. Which one's higher resolution looking? Actually, this one looks like it was upscaled. Oh, not really.
Last stop for galactic adventure with Jet Force Gemini for your Nintendo.
Boy, look at that fucking like 380.
Blaze into action with your team of adventurers bent on breaking the alien Mizar's interstellar stranglehold. An awesome one.
Oh, this does look fun.
Awaits you.
It's on Rare Replay, which I currently, like I said, I don't own it, but I'm borrowing it.
And gruesome gross out.
Did you ever play the game called Run Like Hell? I have played it. I never finished it. I own it on PS2.
Each adventurer
I don't think it's that good.
Which you will master along your journey. From the look of these bosses, you're going to need it. Jet Force Gemini for your N64.
If I were to stream a PS2 game, that's not Grandia 2. Or, well, I guess Extreme and 3 and Extreme are PS2 games. But I was gonna say, if anything, I've considered streaming Primal, mostly because what I have played, I like it. It has great voice acting. And Jay, are you there? Jay, I need help. She's not Gabrielle from Xena, but it's fucking the blonde chick, Cassandra, what's her name? Big titty blonde chick from Xena. What's her name? Callisto. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you. I knew you're the guy. What a babe. Yeah, I know she voices the main character. All right, let's get back to the business. I lost a viewer. Get back here. I'll play the fucking game. Get back here. All right, what can we do? But yeah, I've always wanted to like finish that one. I liked what I played of it. Because I was back like during like COVID, where I was just buying PS2 games just for the fuck of it. Oh man, I mean, it's not gonna go anywhere. I could always come back to Striker charm. Dude, that's kind of badass though. But I know I'll fuck myself over if I don't upgrade some of my weapons like right now. Like my sawed off is way too weak.
Can make up for a. We're starting to get an idea of your tastes, friend. There you are, as you wish. This kind of work is about finesse, stranger. Little bit goes a long way. You see.
Sure, I'm broke, but I feel good about that. I feel like that was a better trade than what I was gonna do. You know what I mean?
Ruby's all rubbish. She makes no
Hey, Jay, did you really want to do Buffy Nights?
That's odd. Anything else? I'll keep a lookout for items then.
I'd like to have sex with Callista, if you know what I mean. Oh, you're talking about intercourse. I know all about that. Let's see. I think I'd go this way. Oh yeah, came from the elevator. I like to penetrate her with my penis, if you catch my drift. I'm down for Buffy Nights, but I demand Angel be included. Well, there is a point. Wait, I forget. They overlap, right? Like, doesn't Buffy season 4 or 5 lead into Angel season 1? I guess once we get to that point, we can alternate, right? I think he means outer course. What is that? You just slap it on her leg? Oh shit. It's thinking. Whee! I like Buffy and Angel. Like I know you prefer Angel, I prefer Buffy, but they're both fantastic shows, and I think you can't really go. The only wrong opinion here is that if you don't like either of them. They overlap a ton. Season 2 of Buffy during season 1 of Angel, I believe. No, they weren't that close. They weren't that close, right? Were they?
This spot will do.
I would say maybe 3. I was thinking 4, but I'm gonna check right now. Actually, can you check? I didn't really. If so, I didn't realize it was that soon. Season 3 of Buffy at the latest. See, I was thinking 4, but you're probably right. You're probably right. For sure, not 2. I think 3. But if you want to double check, if you can, I would appreciate that. Because I want to focus on this motherfucker first. God damn, that was actually a cool. And I know you know your boat. Oh, I see what they did. It's fucking that creepy It. I think his name is It. Because he's not in the main campaign. He's here. They brought him back. Oh god. Ah! I pressed E, you fucker. No! The fuck is happening? Oh shit. Oh god, I'm gonna die. No, motherfucker. Yeah, that wasn't my smartest choice. Oh, we got it. Okay, be careful when the monster thrusts his tail into the ground and attack is coming. You should focus on evading it. Okay, noted. Motherfucker. So, yeah.
It's close.
I don't know why. That reminded me of like the Dreamcast marketing. It's thinking. Remember the Dreamcast marketing? Those were the days. I miss that like era. Like everything had like Euro beats and like drum and bass. Wait out. Must be season 3 because Buffy season 1 is the master. Season 2 is Angel as the main villain. Yeah, and then I think he gets killed in 2, and he gets saved in 3, right? Because she sends that motherfucker to hell in 2. Remember the sword? Remember the sideways with the sword in them? It was amazing. And then he leaves town, yeah, and then goes to LA. So it's during season 3. Oh. What season of Buffy? Hold on. Starts Angel season 1. To Shantu in LA, the first season of Angel originally aired on the Never 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 You Me from October 5th, 1999, concurrently with the 4th season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So it's 4. Does that fucking work? Hold on, you're right. Hold on. I haven't can see on Reddit right here. It says Buffy season 4 equals Angel season 1. So after 3? Is that what you're saying? After 3 and yeah, it says during 4. Angel doesn't start until year 4 of Buffy. Buddy started. Was it 97? Yeah, it says 97. How does that fucking work? Oh, you know what's crazy, dude? Okay, so it says here. All right, just fair enough. I thought it was season 3. No, I thought it was 2 after a while. Because I do remember the 1 and 2 with the Master and then Angel, and then you get Spike. Good old Spike. But anyway, so yeah. March 10th to June 2nd of 97 is season 1. And then September 15th, 97 to May 98 is 2. And then 3 is 98 to 99. And then 4 is 99. So that's how they did it. I don't know why I was thinking. I was like, oh, it was January 1st that it started or some shit. Like just in the way I'm doing numbers, you know? But yeah, it's good enough. To each generation, the Slayer is born. Buffy's so fucking cool. I remember I was a kid, right? I was like, nah, Buffy's for girls until I saw that shit and I was like, yo, it's for everybody. Alright, let's actually heal too. Then let's not die. So when we get to season 4, we watch them on the same night they aired. We go back to 99. That could be fun. That could replace movie nights. They're both great, like Xena and Hercules. Yeah. Now, Hercules or Xena's a spin-off of Hercules, right? Or is it Hercules a spin-off of Xena? I think Hercules was first, right?
This spot will do.
I watched both with my grandma. And I think I remember when I was living with Deadwolf, he actually ran through all of it. I think he might have the DVDs. Xena as a spin-off? Okay. And you like Xena more. I think Xena was the better show too. Even though, dude, I fuck with Hercules. That was a fun show. I have that stupid ass animated movie. The Hercules and Xena movie. It's not great. I own both series on DVD. Nice. Hey man, if we actually commit and finish Buffy and Angel, we should do Hercules and Xena. I like Firefly more. Yeah, boy, no! No, I like Firefly too. Aye! Okay. Oh, shit, dude. Oh my god! This fucker's fast. Holy shit, dude. Wait. Oh my god, dude. Fucking stop. Stop it. Wait. I can't right now. I'm so scared. Oh shit, dude. Okay. Okay, you cut. All right, we're out. We out. Oh shit. All right, sorry. Firefly's great, but to be honest, I like Buffy and Angel more. Maybe if Firefly got more seasons. Yeah, that's true. That's true. If they got more seasons, it would have like some room to grow. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, it just had one movie after one season, and that movie was pretty good. I like Serenity. Then there was Farscape. I never saw Farscape. Did I? I think I saw Babylon 5. What's the one that had the cute blue chick? It was one of those shows. I was confused them. Actually, I think we're getting. I think we got like a Farscape movie that was animated, and apparently it's like the shit. Fuck. Ah, fuck! I didn't mean to fucking do that. All right. Ah, shit! I thought I could run that way. Dude, also, something I don't think enough people talk about this game. This game has great music. Stop spitting! This nigga's spitting. Oh, fuck. Alright, you know what? Frag out! Patrol time. Alright, buddy, see you in a minute, or whenever you're done. Have fun working. Was that it? He'll be back. There's more to this. He'll be back. He's not dead. Yep. Ada, no! Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Nothing that stays dead in these games, right?
Exactly what I expected.
Let me do this first. Then I'll deal with you. Oh, God. Oh, shit, dude. Oh, it's one of those. Oh, shit. Mm-hmm. 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 Let's just put these down here. And then I could also craft some more shit. So what can I craft first? The machine gun. That was actually kind of... Ooh, and I got some bonus. I do one more. Yeah. And another bonus. Fuck yeah, bruh. You know what's funny? I think that's actually a line in one of the Resident Evils. I swear, I have like a memory, oh fuck, of Jill saying, nothing ever stays dead down here. What am I thinking of? Is that Resident Evil? Big fan, I should know. Fuck, man. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, hell yeah. Am I mashing buttons? Am I clicking? What am I doing? F? Oh, okay. Alright, that works. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck off. Oh, shit, dude, no. Stop it. I can't do this right now. There's too many of you. Ah! Ah! Wait. You know what? Fuck you guys. Oh shit. Gotta aim now. Shit. Oh shit! How's the saying go from that one movie, Better Off Deader? Oh, sometimes Dead is better. We're talking about that one movie. We're talking about Pet Cemetery, right? Don't go up the road there. Or the ground south. Sometimes Dead is better. Oh, fuck, dude.
Now, to find Luis.
Alright, not bad. Anything for me to collect? Don't like it. Yeah, that one. I hate the remake. Even though people tend to not like the original one, I kind of grew up with it, so I really like the original Pet Cemetery. And I have read the book. I think even Stephen King dislikes that book, but it is such a fucking downer, and that's kind of why I like it. It's just unapologetically like depressing. Oh, actually, that's a movie where it's like, or a book where it's like you kind of just like gotta lay down or something after you read it. You're just like, you just can't. Yeah, that works. Right, and then oh fuck, you there because nobody wants you. And then I should just sell that shit. Well, I killed it. Ah, fuck, it's 12. Where do we go? Okay. Oh no!
I'm on my way.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to make it. I'll send you my files. They should help.
The Amber, Luis.
Hold on, Luis.
Thank you for the chance to do good again.
Problem, dude. Thanks for doing it.
I'm grateful. Like I said, I'm just your good old Samaritan.
I'm a good old Samaritan. Ha 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 ha.
Sounds like he needs me. Leon!
Hold on, guys. I'm looting. I'll be right there. Whee!
Frozer. Luis.
No.
You're not getting away. Leon, there's only time to say this once, so listen up. Move your friend to the top of the clock tower. If you hurry, you might get there before she turns into one of them.
So
One of
you
those
weren't heartless after all.
things.
I guess I should be thankful.
Yeah, you should. Now, back to Krauser.
Yeah, how long is this chapter? Oh, they're gonna do that thing where it's just like he's not dead and I have to fight the fucking second mutation or third mutation, I guess. Probably.
How do you get over there so fast?
Got that plaga. Got that dog in him. Ahí está. Un forastero. Mátalo. That bitch. He's not dead like how they deal with the enemies in RE6 where it showed that they died. But they just come back to life, like Chainsaw Hand dude and the guy that was like a tyrant that was chasing Jake. Well, the guy that was chasing Jake he's more than just like a zombie thing. He was like a full ass like created monster. But also I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. He's not dead like how they deal with the enemies RE6 show they died, but they just come back. Are you talking about that other form of Krauser? Well, we'll see how they retcon it. I don't know. Can you say that in shorter messages? Like, I'm not catching your point. Sorry, I'm sorry. Oh shit. All right. How they deal with enemies. Like the guy with the chainsaw hand, he obviously died, but who's the guy with the chainsaw hand? You talking about, you talking about the guy that was chasing Jake and Sherry? Dude, and the guy that was, I don't know who the chainsaw hand dude is. Krauser? It's not really a chainsaw. He obviously died, but then when they start running, he showed up behind them, and even Ada said nothing ever stays dead. Oh, the thing that I was talking about earlier. I'm sorry, I forgot all about that. That was like legit like 20 minutes ago. Nothing ever stays dead around here. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. In 6. That was in 6, right? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Thanks for clarifying. One chasing Leon and Helena. Fuck! Ah! The fuck off me! I'm a lady! Holy shit. Hold on. Well, I gotta do this again anyway, but fuck you guys. You ruined that. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Sorry, bro. I didn't realize you were talking about that still. I forgot I even mentioned that. A lot has happened. Not really, in a game like this, I'm so scatterbrained. But thanks for clarifying. Oh, it's just Leon and Helena. I need to see it again. It's funny because I played it like a couple months ago. Is he the one that chases you when you're like on the bus? Is he on the bus? In China? Right? I don't remember what he looks like, but I do remember the chainsaw now that you mention it. Ooh, another side mission. See any of those nasty giant insects about? There are 3 hiding somewhere around here. Take them out before things get any worse. Pita Novus Stadors, Path of Penitence, and nearby cliff. He's on the bus. He's where they take. Yeah, I remember. Like I said, I don't immediately remember what he looks like, but I do remember. And I think he shoots projectiles out of it too. Like whatever serrated edges he has on the fucking thing, he throws at you.
What are you buying?
What are you selling?
You're a deal well struck. I'll keep a look. Get out for items then. Welcome. Easy work.
Dang, too broke for that. Ammo capacity would be kind of nice.
A well-tuned weapon can make this kind of work.
Let's do it.
About finesse, stranger. Little bit goes a got us come back anytime.
I'll save again. We'll come this way. Go that way. Go left. Muere, muere, muere. That's fine. Oh, you fucker. Oh my god. There's people behind me, I hear them. Just imagine if it was that person's first day and then Aiden comes up, Ada comes up behind him and stabs him. Fuck him, he's a monster, he ain't human. I don't care if it's first day, I don't care if he's on orientation, I don't care if he didn't even apply, he's just like interning right now. Fuck him. I hope it's his first day. I want it to be as short and easy as possible. He dies. Wait. Path of Penance. Okay, I gotta look for the little buggies who are probably hiding up here somewhere. Oh, you know what? You know what? You know what? This is? Yes. Okay, I'm gonna find that motherfucker. Not you guys, but the big buggies. Trying to pass them because they show up on that. Ah, you got me. Let's do it. And bonus, nice. Damn it. Where is it? Where's the bug that's hiding? I think that's what they want me to look for. I think that's what those are. The ones that like act like they're a rock and scare me. Don't crush me. There you are. Ah! I think I can use that. I gotta use a different color. Oh, wait! Oh, shit! That felt really good. If the rifle was on your back, why is it also in your case? Wouldn't your back be your slot? You're thinking too far into it. But I see your point. I see your point. It's one of those things where it's like what do they call it? Like diegetic mechanic. Like if it wasn't the case, they'd be carrying around the case the whole time and like, you know. It's not like in Dead Space or something where it's like it's all on you, or you have like one weapon that transforms or something. God damn. Dude, it's fucking midnight. Leave me alone. I'm gonna go in there. Also, I feel like it's too late to be calling anybody right now. Okay, Diddle. I'm gonna get smooshed by one of those things, I know it. Also, could it be on top? Hold on, I wasn't even looking. Be like up here, hidden. Nope. Up here. Where am I going? I just made a big ass circle. Oh, sub-objective. Okay. That's where the rest of them are, right? Oh, because like shit's moving now. Okay, okay, I'm going the wrong way. I gotta go this way, I think. Which, did I come this way? And then this is the dead end, right? Okay, 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 I gotta backtrack a little bit. I see. Right, this is where, oh wait, this actually looks like it might, I think I've been in there. Am I? It's Q, that's the quick turn button. Okay, I wasn't sure if I went far enough. Also, I'm getting really nervous that they're gonna like... Oh shit, there's people up there. I'm sure I'm not missing anything up here though. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they hid one like right up here. But I'll be back through here anyway, so we'll see. So... Good.
Lights out.
It's a little off the top. Heads up. Oh shit. Okay, cool. I'm too zoomed in. Oh shit.
I was afraid of that. Lights out.
Good one. No more. I love that. Shoots him in the foot. Looks looks like you've been towed. Nice. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit, this guy down here. What are you doing? Oh god, dude, you're fucking fast forwarding at me. Don't do that. Dummy. Actually, I think I can shoot him in the foot. Oh, nice. Oh, I thought I had yellow. Shit. Hey, come here so I don't have to deal with fucking the flaming arrow guy. No, I think I saw a barrel up there. No? Oh, we got a big boy. Can you die, please? Oh my god, okay. I was getting a little nervous there. I love that they actually like blown to bits, like torso over there, you know? Love it. They still got the cool little parasites doing shit. Oh, no, no! Fuck. I'm still looking for the sub-objective. Did I fuck up? I mean, it's not the end of the world, but...
Ashley! Such a fool, Mr. Kennedy, to have been bestowed with Lord Sattler's grace, and yet failed.
Good boy. Just keep him busy a little longer.
Ooh, say that again, mistress. On for the rest of the day. When I clock out, I'm thinking of going back to Red Dead 2 since I finished RE6 and Bully. Nice. I still never played. I mean, I played it for like an hour, but that doesn't count. Of Red Dead 2. So unfortunately, I won't be at your streams just because I'm afraid of spoilers. I managed to dodge spoilers of that game this long. It's on my list. It's just a fucking kind of like a slog. It's from what I've seen, but I'll give it another chance. Because I want a good story. I know it's got one.
Report.
Krauser has possession of the amber.
This is a good Wesker.
You continue to disappoint me.
I'll have it back before long.
See that you do. The mission must proceed as planned.
Understood. Gotta keep the client happy.
How long is this fucking chapter? I gotta go to bed. Oh. Actually, I think it's a good spot to end things right here. I beat Red Dead on PS4 already. I'm playing through so that way I have videos for my YouTube channel. Oh, that's fair. I feel it. I record a lot of my stuff externally, so even if I'm like not streaming, I upload to my YouTube. I just have a hell of a queue. I gotta upload some stuff too. Also my VODs, but they'll be up eventually. I date and download all my files as I go, but where is it? Where is it? Did I fix this one? I think I did. I did. I like this one. Oh yeah, quit. Exit. Who is live? Let's see, and then I'm gonna see if I can watch Welcome to Dairy again, or at all tonight. You know it's late. I should cut it out and go to bed. Since I'm sore and I'm tired. But it's okay. I would like the show, and I'm not allowed to be behind on shows anymore. It's not allowed. Get spoiled quick. Oh, Rin is playing Chrono Trigger. Lovey Montana is playing Resident Evil 4, which it's OG 4, isn't it? It's cute, bubbly VTuber. Lunity is playing Anno 17. Boy in the Puddle is just chatting. God damn it. Need to rage. Good. 3,000 viewers. We're gonna raid Rin. We love Rin here. Dope. Alright, everybody. Thank you for hanging out. Love you all. Mwah. Kiss, hug. Big kiss, little kiss. Did I do it right? Yeah. Alright, everybody. Once again, ad break ends. Let me just dismiss that. Hope you all have a great rest of your night. I should be streaming again Wednesday. I start at 9 just because I have a meeting. But I should be able to finish this. I think I'll finish this hopefully Wednesday. I'll stay up if I have to. It's fine. But I have to be at the office tomorrow, so I can't stay up too late. Bye! Wait, 3? I thought I had more than that.